Good evening, everyone. Hope you are all okay. So today we are talking about goal setting and tips for January, and we are joined by Ross Slade. So welcome, Ross. Thank you very much for jumping on.
No, thank you for having me. I'm happy to help.
Yeah, so today we're just going to go through a few questions, find out how Ross deals with January himself and for his clients. But first question, do you have time off over Christmas, or are you like probably what clients think, just a robot and you just keep going with your health and fitness goals regardless of the time of the year?
So normally I would say yes, but this year's been a massive change for me, being one, now married, two, having a child under one. And normally I would just push through and kind of like train when I can and eat a little bit more cleaner, as they all say, and do all that basically. But this year I've basically actually, when we're recording this, obviously it's the whole Twixmas, I think they call it now, the time in between Christmas and New Year. I'm actually having a bit of a rest week. It's very uncommon for me to have a rest week. I normally just power on through, work, train week to week. But this week I'm not really working. I've just got my shifts at the gym, so I've just like, you know what, I'm just have a complete week off, eat whatever I want, enjoy it. Obviously I've got kids, so I want to spend time with them as well. Obviously I've got another half, so I want to spend some time with her as well. So yeah, I'm just rolling with it basically. I'll get back on it next week and hopefully work off what I've ate, but I'm not worried about it. Like, and I don't think other people should. You've got, even if you worked out every single week of the year and took 1 week off, that's 51 weeks that you're training. Like that.
Yeah, and I think people think that just a small amount of time they can undo the progress that they do. And I always say to clients, it's like you build up momentum behind you. So if you're constantly, eating well, training well, getting your steps in, doing good sleep, a week or two off doing that isn't going to make a massive difference to your scale weight unless you go absolutely crazy, because you've got that momentum behind you. And sometimes clients go, oh, I've lost weight, but I've not done everything right this week. And that's because you've built up that momentum behind you that is still moving, that is still carrying you forward. So obviously, like you say, having a week off or 2 weeks off over Christmas isn't really going to detriment any progress. And then, like you say, as soon as you get back to it in January, your body just picks up where it left off, and it's easier for you to obviously lose that weight and get back into that rhythm and that routine.
I find as well, actually having a week off every now and then actually benefits you more, because it's giving you a lot more time off. It's giving your body time to recover from any heavy lifting you've done. Gives your mind a bit of ease of not having to worry about tracking, about sorting out your weights and your training programs and stuff like that as well. And obviously we've had that chat about the whole especially for women, the time of the month and having rest weeks or deload weeks, they can find benefit. And I think everyone can find benefit from just having a week off every now and then for your mental and physical health.
Yeah, you can't be 100% in the gym all the time. Your body needs that rest. And my clients aren't the type that are like bodybuilders that need that programming in. I will find that my clients naturally have a deload week, whether that's summer holidays, whether that's Christmas time, whether that's coming up to Easter. There's always kind of a natural time where either people are ill, they just have those natural deload weeks. So I don't necessarily have to program them in for my clients. But I make them all aware, every 8 to 10 weeks that you probably should be thinking of having either a week where you just do nothing, or you kind of take that volume down a little bit. So like you say, Christmas and New Year is an absolutely great time to just make that as a deload week, have a little bit more food, rest. Like you say, it's good for your body to just take that pressure off for a little bit.
Yeah, no, 100%.
So when you are coaching clients and clients come to you, what do you find that are the biggest mistakes people make when it comes to January? Because a lot of people step on those scales on the 1st or 2nd of January to look at what damage they've done over Christmas, might have the shock of their life at what that number is saying, and then think, right, I'm going to diet, I'm going to, hit some kind of plan. Like, what mistakes do you find people do the most, or that you see are like most common?
I find that because people ride the whole motivational period of like, oh crap, I've put on weight, I've had a really bad year, I really need to get back in the gym, etc., etc., that they fixate so much on joining a gym and getting in the gym as much as possible. They think that the gym is such a magic cure. So they'll train religiously how many ever times they go to the gym, but they fail to realize that they need to change other stuff in their life, such as the diet or their activity levels, sleeping better, get more water and fluids into their bodies, that they neglect all that and they're just going to the gym. And what they realize is that if you're a newbie in the gym, you can actually lose so much weight or gain so much muscle because your body's not used to it. And they find that first kind of like month, maybe 2 months of the gym, that they're doing so well, and then bam, they hit a wall and they think, oh, well, the gym's not working for me, I'll quit. So that's one of the biggest mistakes I find, that people are so fixated on just getting in the gym and working their arse off that they forget that the gym potentially is 1 hour a day, and you've got another 23 hours a day. And if you go in three times a week, that's 23 hours of a 7-day week that you're not focusing on those other things I just mentioned. That they could do so much better. And I find that a lot of people don't create a routine. They just go when they feel like it. They go when they like, right, I've had a bit of a crap day at work, I'll go to the gym. Oh, it's January, I need to go to the gym. But if you actually focus on saying, right, I'm going to go to the gym on these specific days, at these specific times, build that into your own routine and then build upon that, you'll actually find that you're going to make much more progress. And if you actually focused on, right, the first couple of weeks, I'm going to ensure that I go to the gym X amount of times. And then after that, be like, do you know what? I've now got the gym intact, that's built into my routine. I'm now going to focus on improving my diet and go from there, basically. I'm then going to improve my sleep. I find that some people go the opposite end and they take on too much time as well, or they'll basically say, right, I'm going to change my diet, I'm going to get more sleep, I'm going to drink more water, I'm going to go to the gym 5 times, and they actually overload themselves so much that when the end of January comes, they're so mentally drained from having to keep on top of all these things that they just like, do you know what, this isn't for me, I'm going to stop.
And it's funny what you say about the gym being like a magical place. And like, as a PT, I used to find that all the time, that people just thought that in January they went to classes, they did some personal training, and that would be the answer. And like you say, it's not necessarily. When I worked in the gym, I always did coaching outside of the gym with my clients as well. Like, I did it as like a full online, offline kind of programming one, because yes, that gym hour does make a difference with what you do in there, and you don't just go in messing about. It's got to be structured. But also, like you say, outside of the gym, it's that sleep, that rest, that recovery. Make sure you're eating the right food, drinking enough water, getting those steps in as well. Like, you can't just go, oh, the gym's, that's it. But yeah, I saw that a lot, that people just thought that they just needed to join a gym, do as much cardio pretty much as possible, as many classes as they can cram in, and then forget about everything else that kind of comes with it. And when I get clients started, I just say, 2 liters of water, get your sleep, get some steps in, and let's start there. Because that actually in itself, if you're going from December to January, it's going to make a massive difference just by a few tiny changes.
You have to find as well that the reason why so many people actually see the most results from actually joining the gym in January are probably people that are quite sedentary to begin with. They may have an office job. They may have a family. So when they go home, they're spending time. They're not on their feet. They're not getting their steps in, etc., etc. So go from being pretty sedentary to actually being quite active in January. You're going to see results because your body's not used to you producing that much activity. So it's going to be like, right, I'm going to give you the energy that you need. It's going to push you into a calorie deficit, whether you're tracking your food or not, because you're doing more. And people don't realize that that's the reason why. It's not the fact that you've joined the gym, it's just the fact that you're actually doing more for your body. And I find a lot of people that when they join the gym, I don't know if you see this as well, I don't know where this routine came from. They'll spend like 20 minutes on a treadmill, 20 minutes on a bike, and then 20 minutes on a row or opposite, or like they bring cross training as well. No idea where this routine has come from, but I see so many people doing it. And the only thing I will say that if you are thinking about joining the gym is not for everyone. There's stuff that you can do outside the gym if you want to increase your activity levels. But the gym, you should think that as a both mental and physical benefit. So from your mental health, it's taking you away from your work, from whatever stresses you have in life. You can use that hour, 45 minutes, however long you're in there for.
And especially weight training as well. You can channel that nervous pent up energy or you know, anger or whatever it is and use it on the weight machine, you know, get rid of that.
And that's the thing as well, like with weights, you got your strength, you got building better joints, ligaments, making you physically stronger. You've got the cardio aspect that's going to improve your cardiovascular system, your heart, your lungs, your blood system. You've got classes where they're actually quite social. So if you find it quite hard to find friends or socialize, they're perfect for that as well. But all I can say is if you think about joining the gym, find your niche. Everyone has something they enjoy, something. Someone will enjoy cardio more than weights. Someone will enjoy weights more than cardio. Find and try different stuff. Try class, try running for as long as you can, try lifting some heavy weights. Find which one is going to actually make you enjoy the gym and enjoy the process as well. Because a lot of people come into January thinking, oh, I'm going to hate every minute of this.
Yeah.
The process should not be grueling. It should.
Yeah, you shouldn't join the gym if you think that you're going to hate it like that.
Yeah.
You know, you don't want to do something like you say, you want to find something that you enjoy, not something that you're dreading doing 3 times, because you're not going to keep it up for very long if that's the way that you're going. And
you got to think like it. Not everyone enjoys their job as well. So you're potentially working 9 to 5 at a place that you just basically getting the money out of and feeding your family, etc., etc. You don't want to then go to a place for an hour and hate it even more. That's then 9 hours of your day that you're just pretty much just getting through
life.
So like, yes, everyone has to have a job that potentially that they're not enjoying to begin with. And I'm one of these people that say always find somewhere that you're going to stick with and enjoy to a certain extent. But if you're going to go to the gym, do not do stuff that you do not like. If you don't like cardio, you don't have to do it. There are aspects that you can get from just getting your steps in. That's going to be your cardio side of it. But if you enjoy lifting weights, lift weights. If you enjoy doing classes, go do classes. If you enjoy sitting on a bike and getting your cardio in or going on a treadmill and going for a run, pick one and enjoy it. But don't go in there and hate every minute of it. Find something you enjoy as well.
So food-wise in January, what do you find clients or potential clients or people that you speak to in the gym kind of do in January that's kind of, I don't want to use the word wrong, you know, there's no really right or wrong, but what do people fall down with when you speak to them regarding food in January?
I don't know if that happens with you, but whenever I talk to a new member or someone that's just asking for a bit of advice, they always try, I don't know if they do it or not, or they always try and make out that they are eating really healthy, and they feel like we're these type of people that if they say, oh, that they ate a bit of cake, we'll be like, oh my God. So they always say like, oh, I eat really healthy, I'm eating really whole foods, I'm eating salads, etc., etc. But the issue that I find with that is, especially with someone that doesn't know too much about nutrition or too much about the whole calorie side of it, if you go from potentially eating near excess of potentially 3,000 calories a day without knowing about it, then go into a pretty clean, salad eating diet, you're actually going the opposite end and you're potentially under eating as well. So I find a lot of people come in January and they're like eating a lot healthier, which is obviously going to be more beneficial, but they're actually potentially eating too little because they're really eating all these foods that they don't actually realize are really low in calories. And one of the other reasons why they're probably feeling so burnt out from going to the gym is because they haven't actually realized that they can eat a little bit more. And
they're not fueling the body and they're just getting exhausted very fast.
Yeah, because they're as I say, they're going to work with a packed lunch that's potentially just a salad or something like that. They may feel like they need to skip breakfast as well. When they come home, they're potentially eating just chicken and rice. And for someone that's gone from potentially overeating in excess, as I said, 3,000 plus calories to potentially only eating potentially 1,000 to 1,500 calories, your energy levels are going to drop massively. And I would say calorie tracking isn't for everyone. I'm not going to lie. But it is a good way to educate yourself on what is in certain foods. So then you can be like, oh, okay, what I have been eating actually isn't too bad. Maybe I just need to reduce the quantity of it.
Yeah.
And
I always say calorie awareness. Like, it's not about, like say tracking every single thing, but it's just about being calorie aware, of like, oh, this is how much is in here. This is how much is in that. You don't need to know everything. You don't need to count calories for life. But, going through the festive period, you can kind of go, oh, well, I know a mince pie is around 250 calories. If I have a Christmas coffee at Costa, it's probably going to be about 350 calories, so I don't know exactly, but, it's just that calorie awareness of things.
Yeah. And I like using the word guesstimating. So especially if you do invest in a coach like ourselves, you want to get the most out of it as well. So I always try and push people to go through the calorie tracking side of it, just so they then start building the knowledge base of when they don't have a coach, that when they do stop essentially calorie tracking, they're almost doing it in their heads. Yeah. And as they said, they go to Costa and they're like, well, when I did calorie track, I knew that coffee had, as you said, about 300 calories. If I have a muffin with that as well, I'll probably know that's going to be an extra 300 calories on top of that as well. It's then making those choices further down the line that can you have that muffin if you are trying to keep at maintenance level. Let's use that example. It's actually just being aware of what you're eating. And I find that, especially with a lot of supermarkets now and a lot of restaurants, the government has brought this in as well, that calories are everywhere. Yeah. And they can be quite scary as well. They've got a massive number on it and they look at it and be like, oh my God, this thing.
Yeah, and I think people aren't aware of what 400 calories means. Like, they might be like, oh, it says 400 calories, but that has got no context because you don't know what they should be having, what that meal should be. 400 calories for a meal is pretty good, but then they might go somewhere else and it says 1,000 calories and they don't know the difference of which is right, which is wrong, and the context within that, So having numbers on menus, people made a massive fuss about calories going on menus, but the people that don't care don't understand the relevance anyway. So
yeah, and I've got a client in a minute, and she does calorie tracking so well, but she has it in her head, anything with a high calorie value basically means it's bad. And that has basically meant for her eating too little fats, for example. And I've done my research along it, and you need at least 30 grams of essential fatty acids. And she sometimes eats under 30 grams of fat a day. And whenever she tracks her fish and stuff like that, she's like, oh yeah, I went over today. I was like, well, why did you? She was like, oh, well, I went over my fats. I was like, well, but I'm looking at your food diary and there's nothing on there that's screaming trans fats or saturated fat, deep fat fried and stuff like that. And it's just making people aware that just because the number is big doesn't mean that it's bad. Like, if something's got near enough 100 grams of protein in it, that's going to be at least 400 calories to begin with anyway, not adding all the carbs, etc., in it as well. So it's just, I say, getting that base knowledge of why calories are so high in certain foods, and just being made aware that you don't have to restrict yourself just because a piece of chocolate may have 100 calories in it.
Yeah, and I think restriction's a big thing in January, that people feel that they've got to throw all the chocolates away or eat them all, which is worse.
Yeah.
Before they start, and just like restrict all the favorite foods, and like you say, tracking like too lower calories so they have low energy, and then the low energy turns them to that chocolate that they've been restricting, and then they feel like they failed. It's just a vicious circle for a lot of people.
Yeah.
January.
And I find actually, like, even if you sometimes get your calories wrong, you can still achieve your goal. I managed to get in one of the best shapes of my life, like the most leanest, and I still ate pizza. But the thing is, when I scanned the pizza box, I didn't realise that on my fitness pal, it was only equating to half that pizza.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know who in the history of
that
the world,
is a lot of an issue with my fitness pal. It just puts a portion size in, or what it thinks a portion size is.
Yeah, and there's only been certain times where I've ever ate half a pizza, and that's if I've shared it with my other half, but then we've had something else on top of it. But at this point, I was eating a whole pizza, but on my fitness pal, I kept putting that in wrong. So I was probably eating in excess of an extra 800 calories sometimes as well. So don't feel like if you get your calories wrong on my fitness pal that you're going to not get it right, because it can still work. And as long as alongside your food, you're keeping active, you can kind of balance that sometimes. Be like, oh, I've gone over 100 calories, etc. Go for an extra 10-minute walk, or just do a little bit extra. But you can go the opposite way the next day as well. If you go over one day, just be like, do you know what? I'll just be a little bit better the next day. So don't worry about it at the same time. Like, as we just said at the beginning of this, one day, 1 week doesn't take away all the hard work that you have done as well.
So with your clients, when it comes to January, do you give them time off over Christmas? Like, how do you approach that? And then when it comes to January, how do you help them get back on track? Do you have a set formula for people to do, or is it different for all your clients?
So I'm not a blueprint kind of person. I believe every person, especially when they come one-to-one, is different. And it's the same with group coaching as well. Just because you're in on my group coaching, just because I'm giving you certain tools and tricks, etc., doesn't mean it's going to work for you as well. Yeah. So over the Christmas period, I know a lot of people become busier. A lot of people want to spend time with their friends, their family. Work may increase because people are trying to get their quotas in for the year, etc. So I just allow my clients just be like, right, if you can train me, perfect. If you can't, it's not the end of the world. And in fact, last week when it was to build up to Christmas, I probably only had about 4 sessions out of about, I normally run about 20 a week. So that just goes to show that a lot of my clients were in fact just either not ready for the gym that week, or they're just too busy to get in. And it's the same this week as well. Like, I've took time off. I've told my clients, like, if you want to go into the gym, that's fine. But literally, I use this. I have an Excel spreadsheet where I keep track for my clients' doings basically inside and outside the gym. I literally said to them at the beginning of the last week, I am not doing that for the next 2 weeks. You can track if you want. You can keep an eye on your steps. You can keep an eye on how many times you go into the gym. But for the next 2 weeks, I am not doing the tracking side of it for you, basically. And a lot of them are completely fine with it. But I need time off as well. They need time off mentally from potentially tracking for the last couple of weeks, couple of months. So I've basically said to them, I will not go back to seeing what you've been doing until the new year, basically. And what I try and get my clients to do, a bit like what we said beforehand, I just tell them, right, the first week, just go into the gym as much as you can. Like, literally once would be enough, twice, brilliant, 3 times, even better. But just get back into the routine of it. Build up the routine, because the last month for most people has been hectic potentially. With kids
off school, like holidays, and trying to rush around, buy presents, wrap presents and everything.
Family coming over and stuff like that. So it's been a weird time for most people where their routines aren't exactly the same. Sometimes people work less, some people work more. So my basically formula for it is basically get back into the routine. if you've been going to the gym at 9 o'clock every Tuesday and Thursday, try and get back into that sort of routine. Yes, the first couple of weeks is going to be hard, but I read somewhere
I think it helps for those people that have like a Monday to Friday 9 to 5 job where they've already got those set times and days where they do things. I think it makes it a lot easier. Whereas when people kind of work shifts or do different hours, you know, are going to find it a lot harder to then find that time again because it's no set time each week. So having, like, say, that set day massively helps because you just slot back into that.
Oh yeah, 100%. And even with those people with the shift works, just literally say, right, I'm going to aim to get into the gym at least once, because then that way you're building up those routines and stuff like that. And I'm pretty sure I read somewhere that it can take up to 6 weeks to build a habit or routine without you subconsciously thinking about it. Like, you get to a point where you just end up doing it.
Yeah.
And the first couple of weeks will be hard. And if you can get past those first couple of weeks, just focus on one thing. Just be like, right, this week I'm going to just focus on my food, for example. So for the next couple of weeks, I'll try and get into the gym once or twice, but the first thing, my priority is going to be sorting out my food, whether you're calorie tracking or not. Focus on that one thing. Try not to take on too much at once, because, as I say, overload, you're going to be basically thinking about it too much. You'll be like, oh crap, have I tracked today? Have I drunk enough water? Shit, I haven't gone to the gym. It's going to be all those emotions coming out, and you're going to then be demotivated because you're like, do you know what, I can't keep on top of it. So if you can just do one thing, even if you've religiously done it for the last couple of weeks and you've took a couple of weeks off, you're going to get back into it quite easy.
Yeah.
And if you just focus on one thing per week, you can get back into your normal routine by the end of January easily.
Yeah, definitely. And like you say, it's just setting that one thing to do, or maybe two things. And that's exactly what I'll be telling my clients, like, you know, don't try and hit the ground running. If your sleep's not there, get your sleep back on track. If you're not drinking 2 liters of water because you've been having other drinks, you know, get back to drinking water. And again, those small things are going to make a difference. They're going to make you feel better. And once you start getting your sleep back on track, drinking 2 liters of water, you're going to get more clarity. You know, you're going to be thinking a lot better, thinking a lot clearer. And everyone's favorite topic of like willpower, motivation, you know, is going to be there because you've set like the base of everything before you kind of try and throw 6 things at your routine that have been out of whack for the past 5-6 weeks.
I think as well, for some people, if you are so motivated to be like, right, this is my year, I'm going to get my things together, I'm going to get on track. If you are so motivated, there's nothing wrong with taking on too much, because you want to ride that motivational train to the point, because that motivation will disappear at some point and it will get hard, and that's when the discipline takes over. But if you are so fired up, ready for 2023, just make sure you're implementing the right stuff and you're not, as we said before, under eating on your calories, doing too much at once, but making sure that you've got a set plan and be like, right, I'm going to stick to this. And one thing I did do the other month for my clients, I made some sheets up, which were like daily trackers and weekly trackers, where they're just completely blank. And you can do this as well. Like if you've got a whiteboard, like the one I've got behind me, shove it in the kitchen, shove it somewhere that you can see it every single day when you wake up, when you go and make your coffee, etc. And have out every single day and tick off when you've done something for that week, for that day. Have a daily one as well, just like, right, pick 3 things that day that you want to achieve, whether it's fitness-based or work-based. Then that way, when you come to the end of the day, that's going to motivate you even more if you have ticked off those boxes as well, basically. And that's going to keep you on track even more, because, as I say, if you can see it, you can achieve it as well. And
I'm all about like tick boxes for sure.
And you're taking everything out of your head, which is going to give you a whole lot of mind space as well. And then you can see it in front of you as well. You're like, right, it's out of there, it's on there. I can now see what I need to do to get where I want to be as well.
Yeah, I'm a very visual person in needing to see things. So as much as I use like an app with clients and I use it myself to track my weight and measurements, if I've ever got a scale weight kind of goal, I will put that on my kitchen cupboard. So I did that last year. So from January to August, I was losing weight. And it was constantly there what my current weight was and what my goal was. And I give myself 3 months, £3 per month. And I put those targets on there so I could see every day how far away. So it was always keeping it top of my mind of where I was at. And then since August, I've kind of been off it, birthdays and things. But then, January again, 1st of January, my weight's going to go on there and I'm going to track where I'm going to get to. And again, that visual of just seeing it every day. And it doesn't have to be on your kitchen cupboard. It can be on your bathroom mirror. It doesn't have to be your scale weight. It can just be, don't forget, have you hit your 10,000 steps today? It could just be that question. It could be absolutely anything, and put it wherever you want, Post-it notes everywhere. But I think sometimes having it in your face is so much better as a reminder of what you're wanting to achieve and where you're trying to get to.
And it may not be for everyone, but I've done this with a couple of my clients, and I've definitely done it with myself as well. If you've got a photo of you, especially from a body image point of view, if you've got,
I've still got one of them in my cupboard.
Yeah, and if you've got a photo of you that you find potentially disgusting or you're not very happy with it, and you're like, right, I don't want to be that or this anymore, whether you're at it at that point or if it was you in the past, have that up for motivation as well. Be like, right, this is me now, or this is used to be me. And then take photos of yourself every couple of weeks and post them next to it. And then you can actually see the physical changes as well. Yeah. The issue with the human mind, you see yourself every single day, so you do not see the changes. Yeah. You can physically see the changes. That's going to motivate you even more. I only get my clients to weigh themselves just for my clarity, just to make sure they're going up. Why are they going up? Why are they going down? Do I need to change their calories, etc.? If weight is an issue for yourself, maybe focus more on measurements. So get a tape measurement out. Instead of having your weight there, put measurements instead. Say, right, most people for fat loss, obviously it's around the stomach area. So measure around your stomach, put that up there instead. And every week, every other week, measurement again. If that's going down, even better, because then that's physical changes rather than your weight going up and down as well.
Oh yeah, and the only reason I had the photos was when I was a PT in the gym, I printed some kind of comparison photos to put on a whiteboard to kind of do an introduction about myself, to say, look, this is where I've come, because like you say, people see you in the gym as an instructor and go, oh, you must have been this way all your life. So I printed those photos so the potential clients and people in the gym could see kind of my story and where I'd come from. And I kept them. And like you say, I put them in one of my kitchen cupboards and where my biscuits are. So anytime I open them, I go, I don't want to get back to that. And it's just that kind of bit of a reminder of, you might be a bit upset one day because you've feeling a bit overweight or you're not where you want to be, but then I open the cupboard and there's that reminder, I'm not there anymore, I'm further on, but I don't want to do anything that's going to get me back to where that is. So that just again keeps it top of mind of where you was, how much you've achieved, and then not wanting to go kind of back to that.
And the thing is as well, like, you don't want to restrict yourself. So you want to keep that in the back of your mind, that you were only in that position as well because you potentially overate, you weren't sedentary, etc., etc. Getting to the point where, and getting to the point where you are potentially now that you can choose your foods willingly without them having control over you emotionally or physically, and being more like, you know what, I'm not sedentary anymore. I'm not sitting on my butt 12 hours a day. I am active. I can eat potentially whatever I fancy and not feel guilty. And that's both better for both mental and physical as well.
Yeah. So with on that, obviously, like goal setting and New Year's resolutions, like, do you set goals with clients like in January? Do you find that that's when they're most motivated, or are they still working on goals from the previous year? Like, how do you work that with clients?
So whenever someone comes into my coaching, depending on how long they're potentially coming with me, I don't have any set like, oh, we're going to do a 12-week program, etc., etc. I let them choose when they want to leave, basically. So we'll say, right, we'll keep going until you either feel like you have got enough base knowledge to go it alone, or until you've hit your goals, basically. But in the first like consultation period, we say, right, in the first 6 to 8 weeks, we want to be here. So short-term goals. And then we'll say like 12 weeks to 20 weeks. This is where we hope to be. And then long-term could be potentially when they're not even in my services anymore, where they want to be long-term as well. Because I think too many people think too short-term. They're like, right, I want to be lean and looking like these Instagram people, basically. A lot of people don't think long-term. They don't think where they want to be in potentially 5 years' time, 10 years' time. If you start thinking about more 10 years down the line, it actually becomes a lot more clarified that, do you know what, this isn't just a short-term thing. This is a long-term solution to make sure that I am still around to play with my kids. I'm still around to see my family. I am still around to enjoy my life to my fullest, that I'm at my healthiest, my strongest, and my fittest as well. So we do that when we first come into my coaching. Every month, we do a check-in as well, just to see how they get on with the training, to see if they're actually hitting their goals, see if there's anything that needs to change as well. So I'd say I'd done my last checks a couple of weeks before Christmas, because I'd get them in just before Christmas. So then that way, when January comes, I think we're doing them again, I think the second week of January. I don't want to push it too much in the first couple of weeks of January, because a lot of people are focusing on just getting back into the game. So I do leave it a couple of weeks afterwards, just be like, right, what's the damage? Or what should we focus on to make sure that December isn't going to be the downfall of people, basically. So we'll focus on basically client dependent. It might be a case of they've been quite sedentary in December. If they're office working, they've been at the office quite a bit, so potentially getting more active. Someone might have had a lot of Christmas parties, so it's more case potentially getting them on better foods, etc., etc. And for some people, it might just be a case of just actually getting them into the gym. So it's just a case of basically I just get them in one by one, have the talk with them in their session, and be like, right, this is the plan for next month. Like we've already got the goals set for the next couple of months anyway. But we want to make sure that that goal is short term. And I don't think people realize that small steps equal big changes.
Yeah.
Like, yes, your main goal may be to lose excess amount of fat, weight, but you need to program the small steps. Like, right, I do currently 1,000 steps a day. Small steps should be, right, I'm going to double that. That's just an extra 1,000 steps to someone might actually be quite a lot. But in the big scheme of things, it's actually a small step. Yeah. So doing little steps like that, being in a calorie deficit of just 100 is a small step. So it's got to be, I don't know if you know much about the SMART principle. Hopefully you do.
Yeah.
So yeah, I was going to say hopefully most coaches should know that.
So and I always say to clients, you know, when they set the goals, I'm like, right, that's not specific enough. Like, oh, that's like not time bound. Let's put a time on it, because like you say, if they're not SMART goals, then they're a bit too wishy-washy, really. And it's like necessarily going to achieve them. Yeah,
it's like saying I want to lose 10 kilograms by tomorrow. It's unrealistic. It's not the time scale is.
I mean, that's probably what everyone wants in January, but it's not going to happen.
The only way you can lose 10 kilos in a day is if you chop off a limb. Like that's basically the only way you'd be able to do it. But so make sure you're using the SMART principle as well. Specific, it's got to be measurable as well. So how are you going to measure it as well? Are you going to measure it through scales? Are you going to measure it through photos? You can measure it through tape measure. Is it achievable? Like if you said that you want to bench press a double-decker bus, it may not be actually achievable. Realistic, that's pretty much the same sort of thing as achievable. But realistic would be more like, I want to get into the gym 7 times a week. is it realistic that you can do that? You're working potentially 5 days a week. You've got a family, you've got kids. Is it realistic that you can get into the gym that many times a week? Potentially. But if you want to make sure that you're spending time with your family, that you're making sure that you've got enough money and food on the table, probably not realistic enough. And then, as we said before as well, time bound as well. You do not want to give yourself too short of a period to the point where that's going to demotivate you because you've like, you know what, I haven't hit it in this time frame. Yeah. But you don't want to overestimate as well. You don't want to, right, I want to lose £1 in a year. Like, that's just, I don't know if anyone's actually ever done that, but you don't want to basically demotivate you that as well. So the thing is as well with the SMART principle, it's being okay if you don't hit the goal as well. So if you set yourself a month to lose £3, but you've only lost 1.5, to then basically reevaluate why you potentially didn't hit that £3. Was it because of something else? Maybe you gained a bit of muscle. So with the thing with the SMART principle is that there is room for basically being like, do you know what? That's not your fault. It's not anyone's fault. It's just what you've been doing.
From January to August last year, I wanted to lose £20 and I only lost 18. You know, so I could get like really demotivated. I'm like, oh my god, I had all that time, I didn't hit it. But there were so many different factors that kind of came into play, and it's like, actually, I'm just going to be proud that I did the £18 and the extra 2. You know, that's what this January is for.
And the thing is as well, like, and this is why I don't rely on weight too much. There could have been other stuff in there. That day, you might, when you weighed again, you might have drank a ton of water that week, like, and that's you've just held on to it. And the thing is as well, this is why I use photos. This is why I use measurement, because photos can't lie. Like, if you look physically smaller or if you look physically bigger in terms of muscle, the images can't lie unless you Photoshop them. But with the terms of goals, the reason why we set goals is to then not be like, oh, do you know what, you haven't hit your goal, you haven't worked hard enough, you haven't done this, you haven't done that. It's to go, right, why didn't it? So you evaluate it, be like, why didn't you hit the goal? Was it because of something out of your control? Was it because you've done everything you could and it's just the way that your body works? Or is it something else potentially? And then you basically say, right, we'll scrap that goal for now. Let's make another plan. And I've had it with one of my clients who with me now for the last, I would say, 2 months of his coaching. I had him for quite a while. His weight did not shift. Like, it was stagnant. Everything I'd done on my side, everything he'd done on his side, his weight would not change. But when we looked at his photos, we could see that there's certain areas that we weren't measuring that was changing around the back of his head, in his back and stuff like that. And
that's the power of photos, because even if you go on measure, you can't measure everywhere. Like, you cannot, unless you're going like a 3D scanner, like, you just cannot measure everywhere. So that's why photos are so powerful sometimes.
And the thing is, and this is what I say to a lot of people as well, this person that came to me, he was like this for about 10 years. So he had been overweight, he had been sedentary for this amount of time. He was with me, I would say, probably just under a year. Now, yes, a lot of people think that's actually quite a long time to not hit your goals. But if you're sedentary or overeating for 10 years, a couple of months, 1 year may not be enough to reverse what you have done. It's the long-term goal, which is what we said, like, you've now made that change. You've had a year in the gym, you've had a year of coaching, you've got all the knowledge now to keep on going. So hopefully in another year's time, he's one step closer to potentially hitting his body goal. He may not hit that yet, and some people just are a little bit slower. And this is why personal training, coaching is quite hard on our side, because we can give you all the tools, but you may be that 1% that it just doesn't work for. So we have to find other means. It's just all dials, like, right, can we increase your protein? Can we drop your calories more? Can we increase your steps? Can we do something else that's going to help as well? Because everyone is different. Can we change your macros? And and this is why it's quite hard on our side as well. And this is why some people get frustrated with us, because we do the job, and if it's not sometimes working, it's not because we haven't done our job. It's just because your body's different to everyone else's, and everyone is different. This is the thing. Some people lose it really quickly. Good for them. Some people, you just have to keep on going, and the process will work eventually, but it's finding that little tweak that is going to do it for you as well.
Yeah. So final question. What is your biggest tip for January, or anything that we haven't covered already that you wanted to just add in there for anyone starting in January, setting some goals, looking to lose weight, whatever it is, the new year, new me people?
My biggest tip, and I posted this on my Instagram yesterday as well, would just literally be consistency. So consistently go to the gym twice, 3 times a week. Consistently make sure that you are in some sort of calorie deficit. Consistently make sure that you're pushing potentially more steps than you have been when you started. And you may hit a hiccup in the road once or twice a week where you don't hit that consistency, but consistency is bound over time, rather than just literally small days. Like if you hit 5 days out of 7, that's still consistent.
Yeah.
If you hit 5 weeks out of 7, that's still consistent, as long as you keep on going. And another thing, you may not hit your goal in 4 weeks' time. Like January may not be that month where you get your bikini body or whatever, but as long as you keep on doing the stuff that is going to be more long-term and lifelong as well, you're not just doing it for that Instagram photo.
That quick fix in January.
Yeah. You're doing it for your future self, your 60-year-old self. When you've now joined the gym, you're potentially gonna, I don't know how old you are now, but in 10 years' time, you want to still be potentially in the gym doing what you're doing now to benefit your future self as well. Hence why one of the things that I try and get all my clients to do is bloody bend your knees when you pick up the weights, whether you're just getting onto the bench. Like your future self will thank you for doing that, because you only have one spine, you only have one life as well. You want to make sure that your future self, sitting potentially in a nursing home or whatnot, is saying, I'm glad that 80 years ago I made that choice to better myself as well.
Yeah, definitely. So thank you very much for jumping on. I'm sure my clients going to find that massively beneficial. If they want to find you on Instagram or Facebook, what is your handles?
My handles, if you literally type in RLS coach, it should come up. If not, just add the ing on the end and that'll find me as well. But happy to jump on and happy to help.
Yeah, that was great. Thanks very much.
Thank you.